address challenges in the educational sectors. Of course, this section will also be a kind of a question and answer to clarify your question and support your research journey. So as we dive into the section, I'm not here alone. I'm going to be here with my colleagues. Mr. Bello Heye is also going to join us in this section, where we'll be looking at the essential tools and knowledge to conduct a meaningful research, the influence policy making, then to also foster innovation in education. So like I said, it's not going to be a class that will be long. For those that will be having access to the question or to what we have here, we have eventually looked into many things about the class. We have looked into many areas, as we all know, that has to do with research methods in education. All right, can you hear me now, sir? Okay, let me try to add you. Can you hear me now? Can you speak up now? Let's see if we can hear you, sir. Can you speak now? I want to be sure. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Can you say something so that I can hear you too? Can you say something so that I can hear you too? I want to be sure I can hear you so that I will know I'm not talking to myself alone. Please, once you join us, you can just try to put it in the comment section to let us know if you can hear us clearly, so that we can know if those at home can also hear us clearly. I have in the studio with me Mr. Adeshina Bello, who is also joining us in the section, and I hope this section will be highly supportive to all what we have learned together in the physical class. So for those that are joining us, we want to be sure if you can hear us. That's exactly what we are trying to confirm. If you can hear me, just put it in the comment section and let me know. Just put it in the comment section and just say, I can hear you, and that is okay by me. Of course, like I said, we don't want to spend more than 40 minutes in this section. After the 40 minutes section, we call it a day, and whosoever that have the privilege or the opportunity to come across this live section can also make use of this to support what you have read so far or what you have learned so far in the research method in education. Of course, like I said, majorly this section will definitely be fully on questions and answer. So, but I want to confirm if you can hear me. That's what I'm trying to do now. Yes, can you hear me now, sir? I want to confirm if you can hear me. If you can hear me clearly, you can just try to speak
hear
up.
You, but I'm not sure you are hearing me.
Yes, it's better. Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly. I want to be sure we can hear ourselves before I move ahead. So can you say something now? Can you say something now? Yes, okay, thank you very much. He said he can hear me clearly. So like I said, we just have to look at the... Yes, I can hear you clearly now. I can hear you clearly. I want to confirm if those at home can also hear us. Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly now.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So like I said, this class will... Yeah. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, good evening, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I can see in the... Yes, you have said you can hear me clearly. So there is nothing much than for us to see how I'm fine, thank you,
Yeah, I can hear
sir.
you
We are
clearly.
now live. So yes, we are now live. So we want to know those that were privileged to be here with us. Otherwise, if you can't get them, let's just put something down for them to have access to whatever we are discussing tonight. And like I said, this is purely question and answer section where we'll be looking into what we have taught them during our physical class and what they too have learned, read on their own. And this section will just be like a support section for them to have that confidence in what the research method in education is all about. So I don't know if you have one or two things to say before I move on with the questions, sir.
It's all right. Good
Can you
evening, sir,
still hear me,
and
sir?
good evening, every other listener. I just want to use this medium to appreciate our. I can hear you. I'm not sure whether you are hearing me,
Go ahead.
but I can hear
Yes, I
you.
can hear you clearly. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Yes, go ahead. Thank you very much, sir. That's Mr. Bello. So, like I said, yes, like I said, I don't know if you have one or two things to say,
All right, I'm
just
saying
like
that we want to use this medium to appreciate the facilitator of this very platform, Mr. Adewale. Mm.
all right. Thank you very much. So, like I said, this is just going to be like a kind of a recap of what we have done so far in the class. And like we said, it's just like about 8 modules that we have been looking into the class. We have looked into the 8 modules. We started from the research, the definition of research, the types of research. We take it away from there. We move into what we mean by problem facing research in a developing
Okay.
nation like Nigeria. Yes, after looking into that as well, we also move away from there. We look at types of variables. We look at different types of variable we have, like dependent variable, independent variable, action variable, exogenous variable, endogenous variables, and the like. So what tonight's majorly is all about is just to do a kind of a recap of what we have done. Then we just treat one or two questions that can guide the researcher. We call them researcher because they are researchers already. Whosoever that is having the opportunity to be in the class of research method in education, they are all researchers, and we are training them to become a future researchers that can do things on their own. So I don't know if you have one or two things to say for them before we look into the question one after the other, sir. Joining us online. Before Mr. Bello will also join us again. Can we have, if you can hear me from home, those joining us live, can you put it in the chat? Can you say yes if you can hear me clearly? If you can hear me clearly, can you say yes? If you can hear me clearly, can you say yes? Just type yes in the comment section if you can hear me. I just want you to say yes in the comment section if you can hear me clearly. If you can hear me clearly, can you say yes in the comment section? Just say yes if you can hear me clearly in the comment section. Of course, if you can't hear me, just let me know. Okay, thank you. Somebody have just, yes. Okay, thank you, Ajayi. Thank you, Jubri. So without wasting much of our time, while we still waiting for Mr. Bello to join us, I want us to quickly dive into the questions where we'll be looking at questions that are related to the class. So of course, I'm going to start with research itself. We are going to start with research itself. I'll be dictating, calling those questions one after the other. You can also contribute. Then I will also I'll be doing you the favor of telling you a kind of direction to the answer to some of those questions. Of course, like I told you, this is general revision that has to do with research method in education. So the first questions I'm going to talk about is that we talk about two different types of when you are testing your hypothesis. Like I said, there are two things that you can use to guide you in the research. The first is that you can raise research question. You can also set hypothesis. Like I said, you can only provide an answer to research question and as well set test an hypothesis. So in testing the hypothesis, there are two types of hypothesis. We have what is called the null hypothesis. Then we also have what is called the alternative hypothesis. Mr. Bello, can you hear me now? I think you are back now. Can you hear me, Mr. Bello?
Yeah, I'm back now. I can hear you. The network is
All
somehow
right, thank you very much.
funny. Yeah. I can hear you. I can
Yes,
hear you.
yes, I
Yeah.
understand. So we are trying. Yes, we are trying to manage the network here. Thank you very much, sir. So, like I said, I just give a kind of a brief introduction on what the course is all about, and some of those things we've looked into the course.
Yeah.
And tonight we just do a kind of a review of some of the questions that are related to research method in education. So the very first question I want to ask them is that there are basically two types of hypothesis. We have what is called the null hypothesis and then the alternative hypothesis. So the question does that the null hypothesis implies that it implies what? What does null hypothesis imply? There are different options. We have option A is talking about a null hypothesis implies a positive position of the researcher, B, negative position of the researcher, C, a, a neutral position of the researcher, and then C is talking about a null position of the researcher. So in this kind of a question, as a student, as a scholar, the best answer to this is that a researcher that is setting any hypothesis will always be neutral, will always be in a neutral position while setting the hypothesis. Like I said, it's just like when you are talking about a null. A null simply means something empty. So that means that person will definitely be neutral in setting a null hypothesis. I hope I'm right, sir. Mr. Bello, are you still with me, sir? Are you still with me, sir? Oh, I'm sure the network is not friendly from his end. So that's the first questions in the areas of research. Like I said, here I have 17 questions around research alone. So that is those 17 questions are basically deal with meanings of research, types of research, what other things do we talk about research? We look into hypotheses, then setting of a research topic. So I'm going to move into this second question. The second question is talking about expression of a variable linkage is described as there are four options. The first option is research design, research methodology, research instrument, and research hypothesis. Which one is talking about expression of a variable linkage? A variable linkage. Of course, the right answer here is research instrument. So anyone that is linking the variable, anything that has to do with the variable linkage or expression of the variable linkage is what we refer to as a research instrument. A research instrument is just like your questionnaire or the questionnaire you normally see people sharing. So that is what is basically talking about. The variable linkage is the one that is going to talk about pick both the what is it called, the dependence and invariable variable together and looking at them into two. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Bello, sir. So I'm moving into the third
The
question.
network is,
Can you hear me?
the network is really bad.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't know.
yes. I
The
can
network
see
is
that.
not friendly at all.
Yes, it's not friendly. It's not friendly. So, like I said, I don't know if you have one or two contribution on what I've just talked about. First one I'll deal with a null hypothesis, and we said a null hypothesis implies a neutral position of the researcher. It's talking about a neutral position of the researcher. Can you hear me, sir? Oh shit, the network is not friendly there. Yes, the network is not friendly. I understand. Thank you very much. You can just be on the same page with us. In case if you have any, let's keep trying. Once your network is okay, let me know. For the students that are joining us, please, if you can hear me clearly, you can just put it in the chat. If you are just coming in and you can hear me clearly, you can put it in the chat and let me know if my voice is audible enough, and if you can also hear Mr. Bello too. So I'm moving on to the third question. Mr. Bello, just once your network is okay, just let me know, sir. So I'm moving on to the third question. The third question is on the
Okay.
time.
You mean about hypothesis? Which one are we talking about?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm referring to hypothesis. We said basically there are two types of
Okay.
hypothesis that we can say. We have the null hypothesis, then we have the alternative hypothesis. Now the question is now asking us that a null hypothesis, what does it imply to say an hypothesis is a null hypothesis? And I said the right answer there is that this is an hypothesis that is talking about is really talking about the neutral position of the researcher. A neutral position of the researcher. Oh shit, he's out again. Let's wait for him. So I'm quickly moving on to the third question, which is talking about action research. What is an action research concerned about? What do we mean by an action research? There are almost four options for that. An action research, can action research be experimental studies? Is action research laboratory study? Is action research correlational study? Or action research, is it immediate classroom problem? Which one is the correct answer? Without wasting much of our time, the correct answer there is that an action research in education is most concerned with immediate classroom problem. That this is a research that is providing immediate solution to a classroom problem. That is an action research. So let me take it away from there and move on to what I call my fourth question here, is that literally the term research itself, what does it imply? What does the term research imply? Research simply means what? What does it mean? A, is it talking about to gather? B, to find? C, to search for? D, logically inquiry. So the best answer here is to search for. Research simply means you are searching for a knowledge. You are searching for a knowledge. It means to search for. So let me move on to question 5. Question 5 under my research is the classification of research according to method include the following. You know, we said a research can basically, it can be classified into two. It can be in terms of purpose and also in terms of method. A research is basically classified into two. It can be classified in terms of purpose, and it can also be classified in terms of method. So therefore, there are different types of research by purpose, and there are different types of research by method. Now, this question now is talking about that the classification of research according to method include all the following, except A, descriptive research, B, survey research, C, basic research, D, case study research. Which one is talking about, which one among them is talking about a research? A minute. Yes, Mr. Bello, you are back, sir.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yes, so
Yeah.
yes, just So I'm now on another question that is talking about classification of research according to method. You know, the research is basically in the classification of research. A research can be classified into two, in terms of purpose and in terms of method. And the question is now saying a research that is classified in terms of method are the following, except one of it is not the one classified by method. The first one is descriptive research, B survey research, C basic research, and the fourth one is case study research. So among all the options that I just read out, descriptive research is a research by purpose. Survey research is a research by purpose. Case study research is a research by purpose. The only one that is not a research by method there is just the basic research. So of course, the basic research is a type of research by purpose. So look at how the question goes. Am I right, sir? Can you hear me, sir? Mr. Bello, can you still hear me? I'm not sure. Like I've said, the network is not that friendly from its end. But please, audience, if you can hear me, I will appreciate if you can put it in the comments to know if you can hear me. I have just 30 minutes to go on this section. Participant, please, if you can hear me, can you put yes in the comments? So while I move on to the sixth question that is still talking about research. The sixth question, in which of these research type is the researcher not directly or physically involved in the situation under study? In which of these? Okay, thank you, Faye. The question is, in which of these research types is the researcher not directly or physically involved in the situation under study? A, experimental design, B, survey design, C, historical design, D, correlation design. So the right answer there is historical design. Historical design. So I take it away there. I move on to the seventh question there. Which of these is concerned with developing and testing more efficacious educational product? Which of these is talking about efficacious product? Of course, we have A there, basic research, B, research and development, C, evaluation research, and D, action research. I think the right answer there is research and development. So that is the only one that is involved with, concerned with developing and testing more efficacious educational products. It's only research and development. So let me take it away from there and move on to the next question, still under research, and is asking which of these does not deal with practical applicability, but it is concerned with establishment of general principles of learning. Which one is concerned with general principles of learning? 1, apply research, 2, fundamental research, 3, evaluation research, 4, action research. So the one that is majorly talking about the practicability is the fundamental research. Okay, I think I have a comment from Mr. Bello. He said, oh, yes, I understand you're having a network issue. So we just have to take it like that. We hope we can have another section where we have a stable connection or a stable internet. Thank you very much. Thanks for honoring the invitation to do this so that we clarify issue with students, because we have seen a lot of things going on and we just have to clarify some of those things. So I'm moving on to the next question, which is talking about the types of research which is the variable can be extensively manipulated. So which types of research in which the variable can be extensively manipulated and controlled? Which of the research can we control the variable can be extensively manipulated and controlled. A, historical, B, experimental, C, survey, D, quasi-experimental, experiment. So the only types of research which the variable can be extensively manipulated or controlled is experimental research. So let me move on to questions 11. Yes, I can see another comment. Okay, thank you, Ajayi. He said he can hear us clearly. Another question there is talking about a researcher looking for a relationship between two variables. When a researcher is looking for a relationship between two variables, what kind of research is he doing? When a researcher is looking for a relationship between two variables, what kind of research is that researcher doing? A, correlational research, B, relationship research, C, casual comparative research, D, quasi-experimental. So the research that such researcher is doing, anything that has to do with looking for a relationship between two variables, both the dependent and independent variables, such research is called correlational research. It is called correlational research. So let's take it away from there. Let me move on to question 12. Research that is based on collection of observable data is known as dash. A research that is based on collection of observable data is known as empirical research. It's known as empirical research. So let me move away from there. Now, if you look at the beginnings of the section, we have been looking at different types of research based on the two classification, which is based on purpose and based on method. Now, this question is now asking us the three basic types of research in education is based on method. You know, we've talked about the classification by purpose and by method. Now, the three basic types of research in educational based on method are what? What are they? The three basic types of research in education that is based on method are experimental, descriptive, and casual comparative research. Those are the three basic types of research in education that is based on method. We have those ones that are classified based on purpose as well. So let me move it on there. Research today is different from ancient research. Research that we are doing today is different from the ancient research. The research we are doing today is different from the ancient research in terms of dash. For those of us that are in the physical class, we said it is different in terms of procedure. The procedure you are doing, that is the only thing that is making the research they are doing in those days and the one they are doing now. The only thing that makes it different is the procedure. So let me move on to question 15. For an educational research to be objective, it must be dash. For an educational research to be objective, it must be dash. That is, it must be free from human bias. For an educational research to be objective, it must be free from human bias. So let me move on to question 15 under research. Educational research is scientific because of dash. Educational research is scientific because it follows empirical procedure. The main reason why educational research is scientific is because it follows empirical procedure. So With that, we have come to the end of the first module, which is talking about research, the meanings of research, the types of research, the problem associated with research. So let's move on to the next module, which is talking about proposal, research proposal, which is talking about research proposal. Of course, when you are talking about a research proposal, when you are talking about research proposal, a research proposal simply means is a presentation of intention and methodology. A research proposal is the presentation of your intention and your methodology. That is what the researcher have intention, or what the researcher is having in what the researcher have intention to do, and how the researcher want to go about it. That is what a research proposal is all about. And for those of you that are in the physical class, I just describe a research proposal as a contractor that is submitting a proposal to a company on how it's going to carry out building a project. So the same thing is applicable to educational research proposal. It's just talking about your presentation of intention and your methodology. That is what research proposal is all about. Now, this question now is asking just now that a research proposal consists of dash. What is a research proposal consist of? A research proposal consists of 3 chapters. The chapter 1, the chapter 2, and chapter 3. Chapter 1 is talking about the introduction, while the chapter 2 is talking about review of related literature, and chapter 3 is talking about the methodology. So therefore, a research proposal consists of 3 things: the chapter 1, the chapter 2, and chapter 3. So let me move on to the next questions on the research proposal. Mr. Bello, can you hear me? I'm sure his mic is muted. So I'm moving on to the next question, which is talking about, is asking us that which of the following should be carried out in making research instrument valid and reliable. There is a process you take before you can make your research instrument, that is your questionnaire, to be valid and reliable. Which process? Which of the process is one going to carry out? So the process you take out is the validation and the reliability. The validation. You carry out the validation and the reliability. The reliability is just for you to know the internal consistency. You want to know the internal consistency of the instrument, that is of the questionnaire. So if you know, for those of us that are in the physical class, I said this is a process whereby the researcher will administer the instrument to those people that are not part of the study. So it's just for you to administer those questions to them and use the questionnaire to sample their opinion whether the instrument you have developed is reliable or not. And in doing that, you are to administer those questionnaire to those that are not part of your study at all, just for you to know whether the instrument is reliable. So that process is for you to know the internal consistency of the instrument. After you know that, after you administer it, you will now analyze their response to know whether the instrument is reliable. So the only thing that a researcher does is that for you to know, for you to carry out in making a research instrument valid and reliable, you need to test the validation and then the reliability of the instrument. So I take it away from there. I move on to another question, which is asking us that the contribution intended for research should be provided under which do we do that? The contribution intention for research should be provided under what heading? Under what heading should a researcher make the contribution intended for. So the only place you can do that is under the significance of the study. Under the significance of the study. That is a point where the researcher will state who and who will benefit from the study. Who and who will benefit from the study. So therefore, the question goes thus. The question say, the contribution intended for research should be provided under A, statement of the problem, B, purpose of the study, C, significance of the study, D, background to the study. So the correct answer there is significance of the study. So this is the place where the contribution intended for the researcher should be provided. That's where you provide the contribution intended for the research. So the next question is talking about writing a research report in education chapter 2. Is usually centered when you are writing a project report in educational chapter 2 is usually centered. What does that chapter 2 centered on? This chapter 2, what does it centered on? It's usually centered on review of related literature, or we say literature review, or you call it review of related literature. So the whole chapter 2 is basically centered around that. So let me move on to next question under research proposal. The question is, which of the following is not part of research methodology? Of course, the research methodology is basically arranged under 7 items. It's arranged under 7 items. The question is now that among the 7 items, which of the following is not part of that 7 items? A, research design. B, data analysis and findings. C, instrumentation. D, method of data analysis. Which of these that I mentioned that is not part of methodology? The only thing that is not part of methodology there is data presentation and discussion of findings. That's the only thing that is not part of methodology. Of course, research design is part of methodology. Instrumentation, that is the instrument you want to use, is part of methodology. Your method of data analysis is part of your methodology. The only thing that is not part of your methodology is your data presentation and discussion of findings, which will come up under chapter 4. So let's move on to the next one under research proposal. The question is, researcher prediction of relationship that exist among variables being investigated is referred to as dash. Researcher prediction of the relationship that exists among the variables is being investigated is referred to as dash. What do we call researcher prediction of relationship that exists among variables that is being investigated? It is called hypothesis. It is called hypothesis. It is called hypothesis. All right, thank you very much. I want to be sure if you can hear me clearly. The participant, can you put yes in the comment? If you can still hear me, can you put yes in the comment? If you can hear me clearly, can you put yes in the comment? If you can hear me clearly, can you put yes in the comments? Before I continue. Yes, somebody is asking question. Yes, this revision class will still be here till tomorrow. Once we are done, it will be here till tomorrow, and I will remove it. I can also decide to leave it just like I leave the other one, since we are not discussing something that goes against the rule. So let me move on to the next questions under research proposal. The next question is talking about report. It's talking about introduction to report. They said all of the following It's talking about, okay, let me take this. A critical evaluation of past but related to the study, which is of relevance to the researcher, is dash. Critical evaluation of past, what they have done in the past, but is related or relevant to the current study, is called dash. It is called dash. Yes, it is called literature review. So it is called literature review. It's called a critical evaluation of past but related study, which is of relevance to the researcher, is literature. Is literature. Yes, the next question is, the reason for conducting research is dash. Why do we conduct a research? Why do we conduct a research? Do we conduct research to be current? Do we conduct research to draw conclusion? Do we conduct research to analyze data? Or do we conduct research to resolve some problems? The correct answer is that we conduct research to resolve some problem. And that is why the first thing you do in a research is to, first of all, identification of a problem. You identify a problem. And of course, somebody that identifies a problem, you will definitely provide solution to the problem. So the reason for conducting a research is to resolve some problem, is to resolve some educational problem, especially education research. So let's look at the next question. It's talking about a researcher obtains his data or information from all these except. A researcher is obtaining data. A researcher obtains his data or information from all different angles except A, except interview, except telephone, except focus group discussion, except personal view. Of course, a researcher can obtain his or her data or information through interview. He can obtain his information through telephone. He can obtain his information through focus group discussion, but he or she cannot obtain his or her data from personal view. You can't use your personal view to gather data. So the correct answer there is personal view. So the next question is, which of these is the first stage in educational research? I've just talked about that now. What is the first stage in educational research? The first stage in educational research. What is the first stage in educational research? Is it review of literature? Is it problem identification? Is it data collection? Is it report? Is it reporting result? So the correct answer there is problem identification. The first thing a researcher does in education research is to, first of all, identify the problem. That is problem identification. So I take it away from there. I move on to the last questions under proposal. The last question under proposal is, which of these can be considered as the last stage in educational research process? What is the last stage in educational research process? The last stage in educational research process is report resulting. You do your report resulting, and that will take us to the next module, which is research report. Under research report, I will only look at 3 questions because of our time. Our time is fast spent. Then after that, we'll move on to preliminary questions that are related to preliminary. So the next one here now is all the following research report. All the following are included in chapter 5. In chapter 5, of course, there are 7 items in chapter 5. The question is now asking us that all the following are included in chapter 5 of a research project in education, except A, implication of findings, B, conclusion, C, result, D, recommendation. Which of these is not in chapter 5 of a research project? The only thing you cannot see in a research project, in chapter 5 of a research project, is result. Your presentation of result will come under your chapter 4. So the only thing that is all there is what? Is result. So the correct answer there is what? Is result. You will see implication of findings in chapter 5. You will see conclusion in chapter 5. You will see recommendation in chapter 5. So the only thing you cannot see in chapter 5 is result. Is the result. Result will only come under chapter 4. The next question is, the list of resources that are cited in a research report is called dash. The list of all resources that are cited in a research report is called dash. It's called A, citation, B, footnote, C, biography, D, references. Of course, the answer is references. References. That is where you get the list of all the resources that are cited in your report. You'll be hearing Ajayi 2013, Ajayi 2013, Owoyele 2018, you'll be hearing Oladipo in 2010. All these are the list of all the resources that are cited in a research report, which is called referencing. So the last question in that place is, the primary data mainly come from where? Where do you get your primary data? Of course, I talk about in our physical class, we talk about two types of sources of a data. You can get a data through primary sources. You can get a data through secondary sources. The primary sources is the one that the researcher collates during the research process. You collate those ones you collate during your research process. For instance, now, those information you use your questionnaire to get, or those information you gather during the time you are conducting your student achievement test. Such information is a primary data. But the data that have already been collated as a result of history, possibly you are looking at the history of students. Maybe you want to look at their WAEC result. Of course, you are not the one that conduct the WAEC exam. It's already past. It's the history of the student. Okay, maybe you are looking for their Becker result, and the student you are dealing with, they are already in SS2. Of course, those results, they are in the archive of the school. So therefore, such data now is a secondary data. Now, this question is now asking us that primary data mainly come from where? Where do you get a primary data? The primary data usually come from historical record. That is the past record of the participant. That is the past record of the participant. So the correct answer there is historical record. So we have come to the end of that stage, which is talking about research report. So I'm going to give you some minutes to ask your question. If you have question or you are confused in some of those things, those questions we have treated, I will appreciate if you can put them in the chat. Then we look at them together. While I continue with two more questions under report writing. Under report writing, this question, the questions goes thus. Look at this question. The question is, the following are part of chapter 4. The following are part of chapter 4, except A, presentation of results, B, testing of the hypothesis, C, answer to research question. D, conclusion. The only thing that is odd there is conclusion, because you will see answer to research question in chapter 4. You will see testing of hypothesis in chapter 4. You will see discussion of findings in chapter 4. The only thing that you cannot see in chapter 4 is conclusion. Conclusion will only come under chapter 5. Now, the last questions under report writing is this. The last question under report writing is this. What is the last thing that will come in the report writing? A, referencing. B, recommendation for further study. C, conclusion. D, appendix. Which one will come last? Yes, the only thing that will come last is what? Is appendix. So that's the only thing that will come last. Appendix. So those are the exhibits. Those are those things like your questionnaire, what else again? The pictures of the participants you use, images you use while you are collating your information, or let's say the pictorial evidence of carrying out that study. So everything will come under appendix. That's where you'll be seeing appendix 1, appendix 2, appendix 3, appendix 4. Those are material you use. That's the collation of all the materials you use for your study will come under your appendix. It's quite different from referencing. Referencing are citation, are sources of citation that you use for your study. So we have come to the end of report writing. We are now moving to preliminary. What do we call preliminary? These are pages that you will see before the main project, which is chapter 1. Any information, any pages you see in a final project report before chapter 1 are classified as preliminary. They are classified as preliminary. They are classified as preliminary. Now listen to this question that can come under preliminary. Number 1 is that in a preliminary part of a project writing in education, which of the following should not be included? Which of these should not be included? I want response in the chat. Which of the following should not be included in a preliminary part of project writing? A, abstract. B, certification. C, definition of terms. D, dedication. Which of them should not be part of a preliminary? I will repeat myself. A, abstract. B, certification. C, definition of terms. D, dedication. I'm waiting. So which of them should not become? I'm waiting. Let me hear the one that should not come under. The one that should not come under preliminary. Okay, maybe I should take you through preliminary again. A preliminary is comprises of 7 items. The first thing you will see in a preliminary is your title page. After title page, you will see certification. After certification, you will see dedication. After dedication, you will see acknowledgement. After acknowledgement, you will see, after acknowledgement, you will see table of content. Or, okay, let me say, after that, you see table of content. Then after table of content, you see the list of figures. You see the list of tables. Then thereafter, you will see abstract. It is after abstract you go into your chapter 1. So the only thing that is odd among those things that is there is definition of terms. You cannot see definition of terms in a under preliminary. You only see definition of terms under chapter 1. So the only thing that is odd there is what? Is definition of terms. Now look at another question under preliminary. Under which subheading, I think this question should come under proposal. This question should come under proposal. So let me just give it to you as a bonus question for under proposal. Under which subheading are the terms used in a study explained? Under which heading, do we have a terms of all the terms you use in your research project? Ajayi said abstract. Oh, no. Abstract will be included in preliminary. The only thing that is not in preliminary is definition of terms. Is that clear? So maybe I should let you know those things that are under preliminary again. The first thing you see under preliminary is title page. After title page, you will see certification. After certification, you see dedication. After dedication, you see acknowledgement. After acknowledgement, you will see your table of content. After table of content, you see list of figures. After list of figures, you will see list of tables. Then after list of tables, you will now see abstract. So abstract is the last thing in the preliminary stage. The first thing in preliminary stage is title page. So let's move on to another question under preliminary. The question goes thus. In educational research, the summary of the whole report is indicated as in educational research, the summaries of the whole report is indicated as dash. What do we call the summary of the whole of your work? What do we call it? The summary of the whole of your work in a page. It is called abstract. So abstract is just talking about the summary of the research study. Is talking about the summary of the research work. Summary of the research work is what is called abstract. It is what is called abstract. Now let me move on to another question. This question is a little bit practical. They say the researcher show his or her act of gratitude to those who assisted him or her during the study. Under what page in a preliminary section will a researcher appreciate those that contribute to his or her study or his or her academic career? Under what title? Under what title? Can we get that? Under what title? Under what title? So the only place that a researcher can appreciate and acknowledge those people that contributed to that study, including his or her supervisor, is under acknowledgement. So let me move on to another question. An abstract in research mean dash. An abstract in research mean summary of the research report. The summary of the research report is what is referred to as what? As an abstract. The summary of the research report is what we refer to as what? Is what we refer to as an abstract. So an abstract is summary account of the study. The summary account of the study. That's what we mean by an abstract. Okay, so let's move away from there and move on to the last question under preliminary. The preliminary page of a research report contains all of the following except the preliminary page of research report contain all of the following except the preliminary page of a research report contain all of the following except A. Abstract, B. Certification, C. Statement of the problem, D. List of tables. Which of the following is not part of preliminary page? A. Abstract, B. Certification, C. Statement of problem, D. List of table. The only thing that is not part of preliminary page of a research report is statement of problem. The statement of problem usually come under chapter 1. It comes under chapter 1. So for us to summarize this section, can we list those things you can see in a preliminary for me in the chat? List those things you can see in a preliminary. Can you list those things you can see in a preliminary? List them in the chat. List 5 things you can see in a preliminary. List 5 things you can see in a preliminary page of a research report. I'm waiting. 5 things. What are those things in preliminary? What are the things in preliminary? Pages in preliminary. Can we list them? Pages in preliminary. Preliminary of a research report. Or let me say research project. So, what are those pages? Can we list them? Can we list them? Let's have it. I can see, yes. Agbola said table of content, good. Others, what are those things? Can you see in preliminary? What are those things? Can you see in preliminary? I'm waiting for others. For at least I've mentioned those things you can see in preliminary more than 3 times. What are those things can you see in preliminary? Agbola said table of content. Others, what can you see in preliminary? I'm waiting for others. What are those things can you see in preliminary? Can we list them? Can we list those things we can? Yes. Agbola said abstract, acknowledgement. Okay, I'm waiting for others. What can you see in preliminary? You are testing yourself now. This is a test period. What are those things can you see in preliminary? What are those things can you see in preliminary? I'm waiting for others. So what are those things can you see in preliminary? What are those things can you see in preliminary? Is it only Agbola that is talking? What are those things can you see in preliminary? Okay, Kurirat said certification, abstract, list of table. Okay. Folorunsho said title page. Yes. Ajayi said abstract, table of content, acknowledgement. What other things can you see? What other things can you see? What other things can you see? Dedication, thank you for Folorunsho. What other things can you see? What other things can we see at the preliminary? What other things can you see? So I'm waiting. What other things can we see? What other things can you see at the preliminary? Thank you, Ajayi. Certification, title of knowledge. No, there's nothing like title of knowledge. It's title page. Title page. Ajayi is title page. Title page. It is called title page. Not title of knowledge. It's title page. Yes, Folorunso said table of content, abstract. Which one is this? Epigraphy. No, there's nothing like epigraphy. Probably maybe it's a typographical error. I'm very sure it's a typographical error. So those are those things you can see under preliminary. So finally, let's move on to variable, sample, and population. Sample and sampling techniques and population. Sample and sampling and population. Of course, like I said, basically there are two types of variable. We have what we refer to as dependent variable. We have what we call independent variable. We also have different other part of variable like exogenous variable, endogenous variable. We have action variable. We have attitude variable. All these are what we have done in our physical class. Now the question now is answer the following. Which of the following best define the term variable? The variable itself. What is the definition of a variable? A variable is anything that change value from time to time. Variable is anything that change value from what? From time to time. So that's a simple definition. So if they say which of the following best describe the term variable? A, anything that change value from time to time. Differentiate measure taken from time to time. Gathering and storing information systematically. Controlling events in an environment. So the best definition is that what? It is anything that change value from time to time is what we refer to as what? As a variable. So the second question there is research that is based on collection of observable data is called dash. The research that is what? That is based on collection of observable data is called dash. A, empirical, B, case study, C, action, D, evaluation. The answer there is empirical. So we have three more questions, and immediately after this one, I will allow you to answer question. Once you answer, yes, thank you, Ajayi. Yes, it's title page. It's title page. So once you answer your question, I will advise you share this with anybody you think this video can be useful for, because I will definitely put down this video immediately after this class. So anybody, I will only leave this video here till tomorrow morning. Once it is 8 a.m., then I will put down the video. So you can just try to share the video with others. Like I said, this is a revision class. It's not a class that is compulsory for anybody. Any researcher that is having interest in, charging their brain, knowing more about what research method is all about, is what this section is definitely for. And that's why when you look at this now, we are doing a kind of thorough revision of foundational concept in research method for education. We can also see that we have also do a kind of a real world application of those methods too. So the next question here is that in a study, look at this question very well. In a study, the effect of motivation of employee productivity. The effect of motivation of employee productivity. The concept motivation in that place is dash. In that place, for every topic you are given, there is always dependent and independent variable. In this one that I just read now, effect of motivation of employee productivity. Which one, the motivation there, what do we call that motivation? Is the motivation there independent variable or dependent variable? Or we call it control variable, or is it endogenous variable? Yes, the motivation in that question is the independent variable. Is the independent variable, because a motivation can have a kind of a classification. So that is why it is the word, the independent variable. The independent variable. The employee productivity is the dependent variable. That's the one that can never be manipulated. All right, so the last question I'll be looking at here is, which one is called non-probability sampling? Basically there are two types of sampling. We have the probability sampling, we also have the non-probability sampling. If you could recall, for those of you that join us in the physical class, we have what we refer to as we have what we call the probability sampling and then the non-probability sampling. We discussed that extensively during our physical class. We also discussed that during our last class, where we talk about the probability sampling and then the non-probability sampling. So maybe I will quickly run you through that again. So I said the probability sampling technique is each members of the population have known the definition probability. So in other words, members of the individual of the population are choosing by chance. They were choosing by chance. Those are the probability sampling techniques. And there are different types of it. The first probability sampling techniques is simple random sampling techniques, SRS, simple random sampling techniques. We also have the systematic random sampling techniques. We have stratified random sampling. We have cluster sampling. We have multi-stage sampling. Those are the types of probability sampling techniques that we have. Those are the types of probability sampling techniques that we have. So then thereafter we move on to the non-probability sampling techniques. We said it is not in all cases the random sampling techniques is possible, but with non-probability, that one has no direction. You are not using any calculation. So in a non-probability sampling technique, the researcher does not have to specify the probability or chances by which each member of the population is being selected. So in that place, so they just use the inherent problem with the technique that is becoming practicable, impossible to describe that. So example is convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, snowballing, determine sampling size. Like I said the other time, somebody was asking about snowballing. Snowballing is a technique that is applicable to quantitative studies. It entails the researcher selecting few people he consider that is fit for the study. That person will choose something that is convenient for the study. So such is what we refer to as snowballing. Then the last thing we look at is we quickly look at the population. We look at population. We said population connotes a group of individual or element, be it in object or event. Is a well-defined geographical location. So a population can be classified into two. We have the target and accessible population. The target population is talking about the larger form, while the access are those ones that you can really have an access to. So An access population is what, okay, let me talk about the target population is one which one we describe as all members are those one that we can see, those one that involve in your sampling. So we normally refer them to as a target. So I've cited an example. For instance, now if I'm looking at the study habits of secondary school students in Ogun State, the study habits of secondary school students in Ogun State. So all the secondary school students in Ogun State is my target population. But my accessible population are those group of people that I have intention involving in my study. So that is where you can be hearing a case study of Ijebu-Ode local government. So the only secondary school, selected secondary school in Ijebu-Ode local government are my target population. They are my target, they are my accessible population. Why my target population are secondary school students in Ogun State. That is the difference between the target population and accessible population. Ladies and gentlemen, because of our time, we are not going to see it more than this. I think with this little one that we have done tonight, you should have a confidence in answering any question that has to do with research method in education. So for the next 5 minutes, I will entertain question. For the next 5 minutes, just go ahead and ask any free question you think is bothering you about this class. Ask any question that is bothering you about the class. So I'm waiting for you in the chat. Ask any free question you feel that is bothering you about the class. Ask any question. Go ahead and ask any question. Yes, somebody is trying to call my attention to something. That was in our last class. I got a message in my DM talking about format of citation of literature review. That is in your chapter 2. The format of, so the essential things that is in conformity, or let's say a few examples of a manual style in a referencing, that's citation format and referencing style. Basically, presently there are 4 referencing style. The first one is APA referencing style. That is American Psychological Association. American Psychological Association. The second one is Chicago Manual of Style. That is CML. Chicago Manual of Style. The third one is Modern Language Association Manual. MLA. Modern Language Association Manual. The third one is Toraban Kate L. Toraban Kate L. So those are the 4 sources of referencing style. Those are the 4 referencing style. The APA, which is American Psychological Association, APA, Chicago Manual of Style, that is CMS, then the Modern Language Association, which is MLA, then the Toraban Kate L. Those are the referencing style that we have. Somebody call my attention to that, and I just say, okay, let me try to do that on this. So you have the next 5 minutes is for you. Just go ahead and ask any question you feel you want to ask about the class research method in education. You are free to ask any question. Evening, sir. Like you explained, give me, sir. Would you like to explain more on variable? Okay, that's a good one. That person wants me to explain more on variable. That person wants me to explain more on variable. I'm coming. Just give me some minutes. They want me to. So, any other question before I quickly talk about variable? Thank you, Folorunsho. Folorunsho want me to say something more on variable. Any other question? Okay. While answering, I will just entertain 3 questions. I've seen 1 question. If you still have 2 more questions, you can go ahead. A variable is a quantitative expression of a construct. A variable is a quantitative expression of a construct. So therefore, a variable is a concept that can assume any of other range. For example, I'll tell you in the example that I give you the other time, talking about the motivation of an employee productivity. Motivation of an employee productivity. The motivation there is a variable, and that is an independent variable. So therefore, basically, there are, when you look at it now, we have a concept. There are two types of variable. We have what is called the independent variable, and we have what is called dependent variable. Unlike the example that I cited the other time, that's the motivation of employee productivity. The motivation is the independent variable, while the employee productivity is the dependent variable. So now, what is independent variable? An independent variable is presumed, that is the cause of the variables of interest. That is what is causing the variables of interest. When you look at it now, I talk about the motivation of employee productivity. So something is motivating the employee productivity, which is motivation. So that your motivation now is the variable that is causing the variables of interest. That's the cause of the variables of interest. That's how to know the difference between the independent variables and the dependent variable. So dependent variables, on the other hand, is just the preview. That is the effect of the independent variable. That's what we refer to as the dependent variable. And of course, there are also different types of other variable. We have what is called active variable. We have what is called attribute variable. And active variables are the variable that is manipulated in an experimental design. If you look at the objective question that I was trying to review with you before, I talk about a variable that can be manipulated in an experimental design. Any variable that you can manipulate in an experimental design is what we call an active variable. Is what we refer to as an active variable. While the attribute variable, on the other hand, are those ones that are manually occur in a population, and they are beyond manipulation, like gender. You cannot manipulate gender. Gender will always remain gender. It will always remain male and female. There's nothing you can do to that. Even if you look at that person very well and say, this person plait here now, it doesn't matter. If he plait here, once it's a male is a male. You cannot manipulate it. So a variable that you cannot manipulate, that is what we call an attribute variable. But a variable that you can manipulate in an experimental design is what we call an active variable. Then we also have what is called stimulus and a response variable. A stimulus and a response variable. A stimulus and a response variable. A stimulus variable is any condition or manipulation by the experimenter of the environment that evoke a response in an organism. So while a response variable is a kind of a behaviors in an organism. So we also have other types of variable like continuous variable, categorical variable, exogenous and endogenous variable. When we talk about exogenous variable, they are variables that cannot be caused by any other variable in an hypothesis causal model. In other words, these are the variables that not explained by other variable. A variable that can never be explained by another variable, that's an exogenous variable. But a variable, on the other hand, that have at least one hypothetical cause in a path analysis model, that is what we call an endogenous variable. So that is we have what is called exogenous variable and endogenous variable. Then we also have what we refer to as intervening variable. An intervening variable, on the other hand, that's the one that alters the relationship between an independent variable and dependent variable, which cannot be directly observed or controlled. Any variable that cannot be directly observed or controlled, that's what we call that is what we refer to as an intervening variable. Then we have a moderator variable. So Folorunsho, I hope I've answered your question on that variable. Folorunsho, I hope I've answered your question on that variable. I think I've tried. I spent over 1 hour 30 minutes in doing this revision class. So I expect 2 more questions. If you can still ask your 2 more questions, I'm here to answer that. 2 more questions. 2 more questions. So in the absence of none, no more question. I'm going to call it a day so that you can go and rest and try to wake as early as possible to do more revision. Then you can also come back to this video to listen to the video. You can also share this video, especially those that are not always around. Share this video with them. It can serve as a revision for them, so they can use this video to do revision of what the class is all about. So thank you very much. If you really enjoy the class, can you comment? So comment about the revision class. I want a comment about the revision class. A comment about the revision class. Comment or question. Any comments about the revision class? Did the revision class meet your need? Can you pass a comment? You are free to go, except if you have a question. So in the absence of none, that is how far I can go. So you can just try to share this video by copy the link with any student or any researcher you think the video can be of help to. Thank you and God bless all of you.